We're back. The All Nations Hotel. It's Punting Melbourne Style, or the Ralph Mouth and Potsy Show. Please yourself. RaceTrack Ralphy, Darren Potter, raceassessments.com.au, is that it?
That's it, mate.
RaceTrackRalphy.com.au. Windy day at Caulfield. Let's not spend too long on it. Give us your 60 seconds, coulders or shouldas.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Because I think we ended up with the worst case scenario.
Because?
Which was starting the meeting and then not finishing it.
Yeah.
And they had plenty of warning this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the current environment with racing in Victoria, we seem to have no one really, putting their hand up to take a strong administrative and management lead.
Yep.
And it leaves it open to situations like this. So everyone knew what was going to happen on Friday.
Yep.
No one did anything about it. Started the meeting, and then I don't really feel like the jockeys want to be making these decisions, but because no one else is making them, they get left having to make them.
Yes.
And so we end up with 4 races, and then that's the end of it. Whereas it would have been, if that was on the cards, if there was the potential for that to happen, they probably should have decided that, on Friday, let's just run this meeting on Sunday.
Well, it's interesting because I reckon a year and a half ago, in December, they were tipping 38 degrees. Certainly no more.
Yeah.
And they said, no, it's too hot. Well, we're going to postpone it for a week. Well, really? But at least the decision was made.
Yeah.
And you can sort of work around it, as you say, that situation. I think the reality is I'm very neutral.
I think didn't we have a meeting last year with that where it was forecast to be well over 40 degrees, and we ended up racing on the Sunday. Didn't that happen like that?
Yeah, it was that little bit. But it's a different dynamic with wind. Horses are flighty. I don't pretend to know what it's like to ride a race. I look at my own data or Vince's data, and we make decisions. You look at your work. But in this insurance environment, once jockeys think that it's unsafe, well, it is unsafe. And if 1 or 2 jockeys think the race is unsafe, then the whole race is unsafe. Because of confidence.
I hear that opinion. I don't know if I want to disagree with it.
Yeah.
But my counterpoint is that the jockeys are independent contractors.
Yes.
And if one of them doesn't want to ride, they don't have to.
Yes.
And they shouldn't feel like they have to be a collective.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think they're being forced into a situation where they have to be a collective by way of a vote, when I don't think that's fair to them. I think, as an individual, if they don't want to ride, they feel unsafe about it, they shouldn't have to.
No, what I'm saying is once one says that he doesn't want to, even if he does walk away, he has to stay independently. If there was something that happens, touch wood it doesn't, then I reckon the insurance would say, guys, why'd you race? Because Macca's over there said it wasn't safe.
Yeah,
I reckon the club could be in it. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
So that's the vagaries of the insurance industry. That could well be right, but I'm just saying there are all sorts of factors that make racing risky and I think just forcing the jockeys to become quite militant, and the ones with the big voices are of that nature, and then labelling everyone else that doesn't have the same opinion as a keyboard warrior is just completely unfair and erroneous in my view.
So Chris Simons put out something. Now, where I get, I couldn't give a shit to be honest, but where I get like pulling these people up, if you happen to be behind your own name and you're using that as an outlet, be it Twitter or Facebook or whatever you want, or the Herald Sun or RSN or Racing.com, what's the fucking matter? What makes one a keyboard warrior when you work independently, like we do, or if you're paid for by the industry and you get paid for whether you get it right or wrong? Can someone explain that to me?
No, I can't. I just...
So to Chris or to Damien Lane earlier in the year, I don't care what you think about me or anyone else, but if you want to label anyone who has an opinion when they put their own name to it and they're accountable as a keyboard warrior, you're completely wrong. And as Glenn Pollitt said, we can say this now that it's through you, Glenn Pollitt said on Racing Rant, jockeys should be happy that we have an opinion.
Yeah.
Because if none of us have an opinion, we don't give a shit about it, there's no sport.
Yeah, I would say to Chris that it's like if you have
good on him for saying
you've got an absolute right to present your opinion. That's absolutely fine. But just branding anyone that's got an opinion as a keyboard warrior without specifically identifying who your problem was with,
that's it. Yes.
It's just that does no good to anyone, and it reflects poorly on Chris, in my view.
So did you? I take it you didn't have a lead when they called the meeting off, which would add to your frustration.
No, yes. So like me and Craig Williams had a very interesting start to the day. I backed Craig in 2 races and didn't back him in the other. So the 2 I backed him on with Divine Chills and Charleville.
Yeah.
And obviously had no interest in Champort. So I'm really pleased. I'm sure. Yeah, I think I'm right. Craig's going on away for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Him with the family. Thank God. Go have a holiday, Craig. You and I need a break from each other.
Well, let's get to the individual races. So race 1, I actually that's the KP, isn't it? It's, knows my way, knows not your way. I actually liked Every Faith because there'd be slow tempo. And as we often say in this forum, this myth that slow tempo is disadvantage to backmarkers is just that. If you've got a big finish, that can work in your favour. And good on, for me, Ryan Maloney, who just rode the perfect race on that horse, didn't push it harder than she needed to be, and then rode for luck, and she got it by that much.
Yeah, so well done to you for finding it, right? So that's, so I just want to punt us through what I was thinking about pre-race there when I was assessing that race. With the wind and the likelihood that it wasn't going to be a disadvantage in a small field to be making ground from the back, I just kept looking at Every Faith thinking, God, I want to manufacture a way to find you.
Right.
And I just kept looking at a Caulfield record and a 1200 metre record, which was basically non-existent, and just couldn't really find a way to get her to a price, given that the early market had already found her. You know what I mean? So she was already priced to to about where you could.
Hence the late drift.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And as I looked at it, the more I looked at it, I thought I tried to find ways of to increase what I expected her to return.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking the only way you can win this race is if everything goes right. That's what happened.
Correct.
And when she won, I went, I knew that was going to happen, but somehow I had to become a victim to it.
That's right. And it was a nose, and then your way or my way.
Yeah, anyway.
Second race. Well, this was a train wreck of Charleville. I level staked them. So obviously hoping for Charleville, and I thought, well, there's only 2 possible chances. And what's your version of the train wreck called Charleville?
Well done, Ralphie. That's well done, because it wasn't easy to do. Because I marked them both $3, right?
Yep.
I wanted to level stake them.
Yep.
But I just couldn't bring myself to take
even
5 to 4 or even money or whatever.
Yeah.
Kiwa under any circumstances.
Yes.
First prep, first go 2400, blah, all that.
Yeah.
Now the race itself, there's a lot of dead wood in that race. There was always going to be traffic. So I did the video on Friday about the track, and I used revolving door as the example, but I predicted this sort of situation would happen on this card. So it seemed highly likely. So it didn't surprise me. My concern here is that Craig recently, when things haven't sort of gone right for him, he's tended to give up a little bit too soon. Yeah. And I think a run presented for him for a split second at the top of the straight between Street Sense and Jimmy Bay. And I see jockeys take runs like that half a dozen times at every meeting I review.
Yep. And
I think at that stage Craig had already gone, oh, well, I've been unlucky. I'm not going to force the issue here.
Yes.
And I think if it was, there's not many jockeys that would have got away with that. So Bo Mertens was questioned at Moonee Valley about Leodoro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And when no run presented itself, there was no gap for him at all.
He does have a koala bear, Craig Williams, doesn't he?
He does. So I think any other jockey would have been brought in and asked about why did you not force through that run?
She Wears the Pants was a very similar situation, wasn't it? It was in Shitsville from a long way, and he wasn't trying to force it. And I think this is the interesting one here, Pot. So 2 weeks earlier, he was in the same spot on Orient Line.
Yeah.
Got through and won. Because he's a great rider.
Yeah.
I saw Phil Moyes, good judge Phil.
Good judge Phil.
Saturday night, and he said, I reckon you see that in Group 1s, Craig would have taken the gap. Mm-hmm. Which I think is a fair statement, and he is fair. Yep. And I'm just wondering, just for a discussion point, I actually think it's probably fair for both sides, but too, to say that if you're an elite jockey, you're probably not going to put your life on the line for that type of gap on a non-Group 1 race. What makes them elite is that they're freaks at taking those runs in not just their talent but their bravery on the big stage as well. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. And then you got those sort of lesser grade races where the bloke who's riding for a fee will take that, and you think, you're crazy. There's only 30,000 online, but everything's relative. That might mean everything to that.
There are a lot of jockeys that don't get many opportunities on horses like Charleroi.
That's my point. Yeah.
That would have loved to have been in that position and taken that run.
Yes.
There's a lot of them. Now, I understand the point you're making, and in the end, the jockeys make their decisions, and it's not their job to police and decide what happens.
Yes.
It's the steward's job.
Yeah.
But I just refer to my great man Paddy Bat, who told me a while ago, Potts, there are no stewards.
Yeah.
So I just go, oh well, play on.
And that's the secondary argument. It's one thing to say that it was lack of intent and integrity, and we're not saying that. But it's another thing to say, should you have pushed harder for that run and really forced the issue and been more brave than you were? Which is a separate argument, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, third race on the program was Shamport wins. So let's a couple of things. Firstly, how do you see the race? I had a small player in bulk, and all important cover actually killed it, even though I know exactly why they tried it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they've gone so slowly. I feel like I need to talk slowly about this race.
It was a heavy 10 times on a fast track.
What can you say?
Yeah. So the overcompensation, I reckon, since I've looked at Vince's data for 5 years now, I've never seen on any surface in the City Saturday, not one horse in the first section or the second section break minus 10 lengths below benchmark.
Yeah, it's amazing, honestly. I mean, the best ride won the race. Of course, it was Craig, wasn't it? Just to really stick it up those punters at back Charleroi. He comes out and rides this thing like beautifully. Like that's what they just do it to you, jockeys. I mean, can I give another example of this? Craig Newitt last week. Okay, this is my problem with Craig. Craig Newitt is an intriguing rider. He rides Fire Gate beautifully. And this is Sandown last Wednesday, punters. He rides it beautifully to the home turn. The best ground was on the inside. All the races won there. All the races were won on pace. He's up inside the leader. He's going to win the race, and he only can use the whip in his left hand. He pulls the whip, and the minute he does it, the horse runs away from the whip, and it costs it being in the finish.
Yes.
Right. So but up to that point, he'd ridden it beautifully, and if he had ridden hands and heels to the line, I think it's in the finish. But then a few races later, he's on Intrigo, who's a real battling man. Yeah. You know, but she drew a nice wide gave over it, horse, and he had clear intent from the minute, and he did something that I don't understand why more jockeys don't do this from a wide draw at Sandown, particularly if you're, the further down the back straight you are. He sat out high on the track for the first 400 metres of the race, and then as they come up to the turn, at the top turn at Sandown, he used the hill to. And then the momentum of the hill to establish about a 3 or 4 length break on the field. It was, it was an 11 out of 10. It was a magical ride to win a race that comfortably on a mare like her. It was so good. It's scary. But so the reason I thought of it was the race we're talking about. One of the horses I backed here was Shoot Out at Dawn, and it had Frog out from an inside draw, and of course he missed the start. Took 200 metres to get going. It was completely game over.
So a couple of quick ones here from Shamport. There's sort of nothing to do with the actual result, but a very good judge that we know, whose name will remain nameless, but his initials are DK, often says about weir horses off at Chuka. He's often the leader's track, and he likes his horses quiet. There it was there, and I remember Daniel O'Sullivan saying about weir horses that get beaten in the country at a short SP, then come into town, particularly those Sandown midweek maidens, but in this case wasn't much better than that. Could have been it there. Race 4 and wind up the day. St. Valorem beats Tango Rock. They both loved the slingshot runners, and that's what was needed on the day. It's that simple, isn't it?
Tick tick. The one thing I want to highlight here to the punters that so I did find St. Valorem, so it was the one good result, so it got us into some sort of a situation, so we didn't do too much damage. But Tango Rock here, punters, if you ever want to see the value of the Golden Switch, have a look at Tango Rock from an inside draw at Sandown, outside draw here at Caulfield. That horse is a case for an outside draw in a fast run race, and I was disappointed I couldn't find it. The problem for me, and it's what I would have been devastated if he'd have won the race, because the spot that I would have saved for Tango Rock with the Golden Switch, I used to save on Written Era, and it's of course scratched at the barrier.
Well,
Thank God St. Valorem got over the top of it.
Don't be surprised if Tanuki, the around 100th, bounce back. Part 2, we're going to talk about speed maps.